Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to do a Better Call Saul Season 5, Episode 5 preview. AMC has released a short trailer which I'll break down scene by scene, and there's also a sneak peek clip that shows a conversation with Kim Wexler and Kevin and Paige from Mesa Verde. Before we get into it, this is your spoiler warning. In these videos I talk about everything that's happened in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad up to this point, and I delve into the extra bits of information that are out there in the media. They do quite a bit of behind the scenes videos plus the insider podcast that give things a different perspective, and also the episode titles for the entire season are out there with episode descriptions. So if you don't like that kind of information, then this video won't be for you. Make sure you subscribe before you leave, because I will be covering Better Call Saul until the end of the series next season, and in my recap videos I avoid these types of spoilers. Episode 5 of Season 5 is titled Dedicado a Max. It was written by Heather Marion, who has written by credits for 3 Saul episodes, including the Season 2 finale, Click. And it's directed by Jim McKay, who directed Kushada in Season 4 of Better Call Saul and Cancer Man in Season 1 of Breaking Bad. The episode description reads, Mike takes an impromptu trip out of town. Kim makes a surprising call. The trailer opens with Saul drinking from his world's second best lawyer cup outside of Mr. Acker's residence. It looks like he's preparing to unleash his plan against Mesa Verde. Then we see Mike, who's sitting on a log, say, "What am I doing here?" The big question at the end of the last episode was where Mike woke up exactly. He's talking to someone here that's standing in front of him in a way that we can't identify the person. I said at the end of my 504 recap that I thought he was probably in Mexico, and the yellow-orange filter they use on this scene is something we've seen before when they are filming there. Mike spent time recovering in Mexico after Gus made his move against the leaders of the cartel, and there's a good chance this man standing in front of him is Gus's doctor. I'll talk about this more after the scene by scene, because the title of the episode and his showing up could hint that we learn more about Mr. Fring's backstory. After that, we see Howard at home talking on the phone to Jimmy. He says, touching base to see if you had any thoughts on what we talked about. We see Jimmy make a face on the other end of the line, and we're left to wonder how Jimmy's stunt with the bowling balls will potentially come back and bite him later. For now, it appears that Howard is still trying to bring him on at HHM, which we know Jimmy is not interested in. Then we see Saul talking to the sheriff in Tucumcari, with a construction worker standing next to them. Saul says, "I'm Everett Acker's attorney. I'm just dotting the I's in due diligence." This ties in with the sneak peek video when Kevin asks if they're still moving forward with tearing down Mr. Acker's house tomorrow. I'm guessing Jimmy has something up his sleeve that's going to stop this from happening. Later in the trailer, there is a sequence of him mixing chemicals together, which could be leading to him faking some kind of environmental concern to stop the demolition. There's another shot where Mike is on the phone. It looks like he's still in Mexico, and he says, "So you're back to being a lawyer." He's probably talking to Saul, but it's hard to say why he's reaching out to him at this time, since we don't know what new information Mike is working with. I mean, it's probably got something to do with going after Lalo, but we're just not sure at this point. In the next shot, it's difficult to tell exactly what's going on and who exactly is doing it. We just see hands doing something with wires and circuitry. It could be Mike. It's probably Mike. The watch we see looks similar to the one he wears, and I think the yellow filter is involved here as well, but I don't have a great guess as to what's going on here. At a golf course, Kevin says, "Kim, I know a scam when I see one." This is from the same conversation that we see in the sneak peek video. Kim has a serious look on her face when he says it, and this cuts to a shot of her in bed where she looks like she's deep in thought and possibly worried. Jimmy lays down next to her, and it's noticeable that he's not wearing the same clothes he's wearing when we see him at Acker's place. They're both fully dressed though. They're coming home at the end of the night, it looks like, and they're laying in bed where Kim has something on her mind. The voiceover picks up with Jimmy saying, "It's nasty, it's personal, gets dangerous," over the shots of him mixing the chemicals together that I mentioned earlier. After that, we see Kim and Jimmy standing in the nail salon where his office was, looking out at the parking lot. We see that there's a car outside, but can only make out the headlights. There are a lot of things that could be going on here. This could be related to the Acker scam, could be Gus's guys, or it could also be related to Lalo and Nacho, who we don't see at all in this trailer. As we see that, we hear Kim say, "You know I worked my ass off to get here. You know that." She's saying that inside the Schweikert and Coakley office, but we can't tell who she's saying it to. There's a quick shot of a cell phone with a dead battery in what looks like Mike's hand, and a shot of Jimmy spray painting over something that we can't see. Then the trailer ends with a shot of Mike walking outdoors, possibly heading back towards the north, or maybe just hanging out, getting better from his stab wound. After episode 4, the big questions for me all revolve around Kim and her seemingly awful plan to get Jimmy involved with the Mr. Acker situation. Actually, I should say Saul, as she is more or less asking for Saul's help here, which seems important since she hasn't been on board with this transformation. The sneak peek gives us a longer conversation where, to me, it looks like Kim is getting out ahead of the fact that they are going to find out that Jimmy is involved. So what is Kim actually planning? I said in my last video, I think she might be trying to torpedo her career. She might be trying to get out of this situation with Mesa Verde, because it's really strange that she would involve Jimmy and get him to be Acker's lawyer, since everyone will know that they are connected. There are so many different ways this could go, and it's really exciting. Part of me thinks that she's going to dupe Jimmy, and that's going to be the big thing at the end of the season, is that he's going to be going along helping her, and he's going to realize that he didn't really know what her overall plan was. That's purely speculation, so I can't back it up with any hard facts, but it's really hard to put together what Kim's trying to pull off here. Yes, she probably wants to help Mr. Acker, but there has to be more going on, in my opinion. The fact that she's standing in the Schweikert and Coakley office, giving that speech that we talked about a minute ago about working her ass off to get there, is she talking to Schweikert? Is she losing her job? Has she really messed things up with Mesa Verde? Is that what's happening there? Or is she staging something with Jimmy? It's really hard to tell. This is where the future episode titles and descriptions come into the speculation. Episode 6 is called Wexler versus Goodman. The description is: Kim tries to pump the brakes on Saul's latest scheme. Mike turns up the heat on Lalo. Episode 7 is titled JMM, and it says Kim sets things straight with her clients while Jimmy is compromised by his. So she's probably not losing her job. This is all probably something that is part of the scam that we see here. Wexler versus Goodman means these two are going to see each other in court. So what has Kim planned out that involves that? Like, the whole thing about this is that we know Kim is smart and that she likes to fix things, and she's adept at doing that. So I'm super curious as to what she's planned out to get around all of this stuff and what her intention is. Like, why does she really care? Why is this important in her story at this moment? I'm sure it is, and I'm excited to find out why. It's just hard to see at the present moment. I saw someone mention on Reddit that maybe they fake a breakup. I hadn't thought of that personally, but that's a possibility. But my underlying thought is, at this point, the more I think about it, that Kim's scheme is grand on the scale, that it's not really about Mr. Acker. It's about her and her future, and she has things planned out, but she has to bring Saul into it, and that makes it complicated because a lot of things could possibly go wrong. And I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think, so let me know in the comments what you think is going on here. The other big question is, of course, what Mike is doing in Mexico. How did he get there? The episode is titled Dedicado a Max, which means dedicated to Max. We know that Gus's business partner in Los Pollos Hermanos was named Max. He was killed by the cartel. This is a huge thing in Gus's life, and so that has to be related to that in some way. If this is Gus's doctor that we see Mike with, that could be an indication that we're going to learn more about what happened in Chile, how Gus ended up being in the situation he's in, or maybe Mike just understanding that part of what his motivation is that the cartel actually killed his significant other. We don't know that for sure, but it feels like there's definitely some connection there beyond just business between those two men. We're at the midway point in the season after this episode, and we're moving into some interesting territory. I would like to learn more about Gus's backstory, as I think his character needs a little bit of something going on here, since we know how his story ends, and at times it has been a problem with Mike and Gus's side of this show that we do know where they end up. Jimmy's going through this huge transformation, but the two of them already resemble the people we know them to be in the Breaking Bad timeline. So it would be nice to have some extra information there, make that side of the story a little bit more interesting. I think that Mike will ultimately form an alliance with Gus, which we haven't seen to this point. So the foundation of that could be being built at this moment. It'll be interesting to see how the Howard storyline moves forward. Because of the way things usually work in this universe, you have to imagine that Jimmy's little bit of acting out with the bowling balls is going to have consequences. I don't think there's any version of the story where he goes to work for HHM, but I do expect that there will be more to be revealed in that side of things. And I think I will leave it there. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about the upcoming episode, so let me know in the comments. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you soon.